Hi y'all, it's Kimberly here. Thank you for coming to my channel. I've had an ulcer in my mouth for the past week, so sometimes I may be slurring my words or I may sound a little bit slower than normal. It was really hurting the past few days. It's getting a little better today, but just in case you notice, I have talked about my speech impediments and things like that, but this thing is killing me. Hopefully it'll go away in a couple of days. But I'm going to talk about the $15 minimum wage today in this video. And earlier this year, not too long ago, about a month or so ago, the Democrats in Congress tried to introduce a bill, Raise the Minimum Wage Act of 2021, and they tried to include it in the stimulus package that just passed, but it was shot down by Republicans. That was one of the big major hurdles that Republicans had in passing the stimulus package, because they did not want the minimum wage to be raised. And so it was taken out, it was redone, and it took a lot longer to get the stimulus package pushed through because of this. And it's supposed to be worked on again separately, so it was taken out of that bill. And, you know, if it were to pass, it would be implemented incrementally, because if it was passed, it wouldn't be economically sound to just automatically raise it up across the country that much, because it is so low right now. Had it been incrementally increased a little bit of time throughout the past 10 years, this wouldn't be such a big deal. But it probably would do a little bit of damage because of the pandemic, and also because the simple fact that it hasn't been raised for, over 10 years, 10 or 11 years. And so a lot of small businesses aren't prepared for it, and they weren't preparing for it when they should have been. That's one of the biggest things when you own a business, is your labor cost. Can you afford to pay people to work for you? And if you can't successfully own a business. And if you can't afford the minimum wage, of course you're going to have problems. You're going to go under. You're not going to survive. And approximately 21 states still have the minimum wage at $7.25. The rest of the country has raised their state minimum wage themselves, not waiting for the federal wage to go up. And it's, unbelievably, I didn't even know this, that the minimum wage for tipped employees, like waitresses and cocktails, it has not been raised since 1991. It is still $2.13 federally. That's insane, So if you do get a bill passed through to raise the minimum wage, it has to be indexed for inflation, and that's the reason for minimum wage increases, to index it for inflation for people who are at the poverty level or near the poverty level, and to help the country be able to adjust to it, help businesses survive, and be able to make it through this increase. And Texas has a very low economy. Well, actually, Texas is picking up. We were known for having a low economy, and we've always had low-paying wages, but we have a lot of agriculture here, and a lot of these agriculture jobs, farm jobs, they depend on migrant workers and illegal workers to do a lot of the work, because a lot of people, citizens, aren't going to work in a field and work for that low pay, because field work is hard work, it's hard labor. Sometimes there's no bathroom. Sometimes they will give you a porta potty, and I think there are certain legal standards as far as the bathroom and porta potty. But I worked in the field where there was no porta potty. I worked in the field before, and it's hot, sweaty, hard, dirty work, and you can't get a lot of people to do it sometimes. And so sometimes they rely on a community of migrant workers, and again, illegal alien workers. even though there's a big crackdown on illegals now, a lot of farmers and agriculture jobs, they have had to raise their rates of pay because people don't want to do the work. And you may have to travel, 10 or 20 miles or outside of town or a certain area to get there, which is a cost in gas every day. And if you're traveling back and forth, if you're living in a motel or, from your home, that's a lot of gas money. And you have to bring your food with you. There's no refrigeration usually. Pack your lunch. And sometimes the days can be usually between 8 and 12 hours a day. And there's not a lot of benefits to that job. You don't get any kind of insurance. You don't get any real benefits. It depends on the farmer, though. There are some farmers that really value the employees and really, if they find somebody who can drive a tractor, who can do a lot of heavy machinery work with irrigation like that, then they do pay much better for those type of jobs. But it can be very very hard to find people who do that job. Instead of getting a job in town in an air-conditioned building, with heat air conditioning throughout the year, you won't have to move around. So, it's a little bit harder to find people who do that kind of work. And the minimum wage, it was implemented as the Fair Labor Standard Act of 1938. And the first minimum wage was set at 25 cents. And even during the Depression, they were able to raise the minimum wage a little bit incrementally each year. And it didn't ruin the country. Actually throughout that time period, the economy got much better in this country after the war and after the Depression. And this is with a minimum wage set at a standard with incremental raises. And in 1945, it was set at 40 cents. So it went up to, about a little bit in between 1938 and 1945, it was raised up. And then in 1950, it was also raised up to 75 cents. So that's almost double what it was just, a few years after the end of the Depression. And then in 1956, it was raised up to $1. So that there is proof in itself that it doesn't kill the economy. It helps people get a better footing on their finances and be able to put themselves in a better position to pay their bills and to put back into the economy. And 1997, our minimum wage in the U.S. was $5.15. And in 2007, it did not go up until 2007. It was set at $5.85. So for a 10-year period, it did not go up. And then in 2008, it was raised to $6.55. That's from $5.85 to $6.55 in 1 year. And then in 2009, it went up to $7.25, which is what it is right now. And it has remained that low for this many years. And it's actually, that was implemented in July of 2009. So if they could have raised it all these years and incrementally set it at a certain indexed rate, not to, damage the economy, it would have been much better to do that than to wait 10 or 12 years to raise it. Because now it might affect some small businesses, but that's due to your government and to people who don't believe that the minimum wage should be raised. And that causes a lot of stress on the economy. So you have to keep that sector of society raised up to at least a certain level, not to affect other businesses. And large businesses like Walmart will get more of the dollar that these people make, the low minimum wage dollar that these poverty level people make, than a small business. So because people can't afford to, it's known that small businesses generally have a lot more percent increase on their prices and their margin for making a profit, and compared to Walmart, because Walmart can buy in bulk and they can, they can afford to do that. And small businesses generally can't do that. So if you have people making, such a low wage, they're not going to go to these small businesses that have higher prices. They're going to go somewhere where the price is, where they can afford it, where they can buy the products at that business. They're not going to go to a higher, a market that has higher costs. They're going to go to the market that has, the lower cost, especially if they're scrimping so much because they're near poverty level or below poverty level. And this isn't just for people who make $7.25 an hour. This is for people who make $9 or $10, or, even $12 an hour. It's a struggle to live at. Even I make above that, a little bit above that, and it's still hard for me. And amazingly, I don't know how. I mean, I have survived on minimum wage before, and it's just really hard. And I think if we don't raise the minimum wage, it would do more damage to our economy, because these small businesses, I mean, I try to go to them if I can, but if it's going to cost me more to go there, I don't have a lot of choices, and it's not because I don't support small business, because I can't financially support them. I'm trying to support myself on minimum wage, or I don't make minimum wage, but it's at the amount that, had it been incrementally increased, I would barely be making above it right now if it had been properly increased. So it is time to raise the minimum wage. And big businesses that were given a tax cut by Trump, Trump tried to capitalize on that, saying that a lot of several companies came out stating that their wage increases were not due to the tax cuts that Trump gave them. It was because it was already implemented in their financial fiscal yearly numbers. Because a business does that, they already have things financially planned, what they're going to spend on this, this, and this, and they do it, they make projections every year. Every business does that. And every Republican in Congress knows that, because many of them own businesses, and they absolutely know this. So it's just greed for Republicans that don't want to raise the minimum wage. And I think that damages the country more than raising the minimum wage. Okay, that's just what I think about it, and for y'all to think about whatever you think about it. Thank you for coming to my channel.